Yes, so are we back? Has everybody logged in again? Hello, am I
Hello.
audible?
Yeah, ma'am, you're
Yes,
absolutely audible,
yes, Dr.
and
Sai, am I audible? Yes,
we
yes.
can start with.
So, yeah, so taking over from the last session, I hope all of you are still there with me. And yes, so we were talking about acid phosphoricum and the mental debility that happens. Basically, extreme mental debility is phosphoricum acid. They're totally listless, apathetic, not able to deal with the grief that they have experienced, and they have difficulty in comprehension. And it's the effect of the grief and mental shock will remain for a very long time with them. And they also, there's something called a settled despair. In the sense, somebody was asking me, what is settled despair? Now, settled despair is a feeling of despondency, of giving up. They just give up. Yes, somebody talking. Okay, yeah. So, can you hear? I think one Dr. Surbhi Khemka is saying she can't hear. So, Dr. Saili, will you address that?
Yeah, wait,
Is
just a
everybody
moment.
able to hear me? Yeah. Just see if you have, yes. Everybody, please check audio settings. Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah,
clear, ma'am.
so, yeah, right. It's loud and clear to everybody now. Okay. So, difficulty in comprehension. So, the difference in phosphorus and acid phosphorus is that acid phosphoricum gives up completely because they are in a state where they cannot comprehend, they cannot understand, they cannot collect their thoughts, and they cannot deal with the situation that they are in. And the effect of grief and the shock that they've experienced stays for a long time. Now, remember that homeopathy does not deal with the event. It does not deal with the situation. It deals with the responses of the person who has gone through the situation. So, for example, it's not just grief. Everybody goes through grief. Like if somebody has a loved one who has gone through this illness or probably suffered or probably even expired, it is very natural that the person is going to go through mental shock and grief. But there is a natural period of grief, of bereavement, the state, first of shock, denial, acceptance, and then the person goes through it. That's a natural phase of bereavement. But something which leaves a long lasting effect on the patient, a person who is not able to deal with it, and his personal life then gets affected. That is what is known as the characteristic effect of the event or the situation on the patient. And that's how the homeopath has been deal with it. So in acid phosphoricum, this is exactly what happens. That he's not able to deal with this grief. So he becomes delirious. There's a stupefaction kind of a thing that he faces. And this is settled despair. Settled despair is so desperate that now he knows that it's the end. There is nothing he can do about it. And he kind of starts living in that phase of apathy, phase of despair, or phase of shock, of indifference. And then that's how his comprehension, his social dealings, his occupation, and his profession gets affected. And as I said, somnolency is one of the features of acid phosphoricum. This is why we've taken it, because it is exactly opposite. Phosphorus in this is the heightened state of sensitivity, and acid phosphorus is exactly the opposite. Sleepy all the time because it's a way of shutting off from the society. Next one. There's another remedy which comes close in this state of somnolence, and that's opium. Opium has very, very specific manifestation though, because opium, the extreme fright and the fear of that fright which doesn't go away, that is opium. The fright remains forever, and it benumbs them completely. And a state of numb shock is opium. It is not coming in the frontline remedies, but it is one of the very, very important remedies for post-traumatic stress disorder. Very important remedy is Calcarea carbonicum. We know the anticipatory anxiety, the fear that something is going to happen, the fear that if the anxiety that if it's happened to my neighbor, it will happen to me now. So they're all the time apprehensive. They fear of loss of reason, misfortune, contagious disease. Now, this is very important. The Calcarea carbonicum always fears that something, a disease which is incurable, a disease that he cannot deal with, is going to happen with him. Calcarea carbonicum is the leading remedy in patients who have anxiety about health, who have anxiety about suffering from an incurable disease, who have anxiety about suffering from a contagious disease. With the result that they become confused, low spirited, there's constant anxiety, and they have averse to work or exertion. As it is, the Calcarea constitution is lethargic, is indolent, and this further leads them to aversion to work. And they are anxious all the time, so they also startle with noise. Calcarea carbonicum is the chronic of aconites. So you can see that startling at noise, startling at every little influence is very typical of aconite and Calcarea carbonicum. They wake up very often at night. Insomnia, as I said, is a very common symptom in PTSD. So, and it is very interesting to note that all these remedies, these are all Polycrest remedies, most of them well proven remedies, and most of them will have insomnia as one of their important symptoms. And it's a very interesting fact to note, because insomnia is a very important symptom of PTSD. Calcarea carbonicum will also experience night terrors. Next one. Here we are not dealing with the general symptoms. We can draw the general symptoms, we can draw the general totality, and then we can lead it to the acute totality or the indicated symptoms at that time. But here we are going from the part to the whole. So we are only dealing with symptoms of PTSD, and which often lead us to the common symptoms of the remedy. So here next remedy is Gelsemium. We all know that Gelsemium is one of the most nervous remedies of materia medica. Dizziness, drowsiness, dullness, trembling. They go through the shock, any kind of bad news. Neighbor has suffered from, is having fever, is suffering from an infection, doctor's been called, patient has to be taken to the hospital, Gelsemium goes into a dizziness. Gelsemium will start trembling, because bad news affects them a lot. And they go into a state where they become completely paralyzed with that fear. So then the fear no longer remains a symptom. It is dullness, languor, listlessness, a paralytic state, total apathy regarding his illness, because now the fear factor has gone. What is remaining now is apathy, absolute lack of fear. There's a delirious state, and this kind of state then leads him to bodily ailments. So a lot of patients, this is a very important remedy in the elderly. So if you have elderly people in and around your house or in your neighborhood, you'll see that they are the ones who suffer from these symptoms. And when they know that the elderly are among the high risk group, that is when they get more and more scared. They get afraid that this might happen to them. And the fact that this might happen to them, they will be going to the hospital, they will become helpless, they will be in the hands of other people, they will have no more control over themselves. Itself leads them to suffer from blood pressure issues or other problems, insomnia because of this problem. So they are sleepless from nervous irritation. So when they think of their ailments also, they are worse. So next one, we are going to take all the questions. I know there are a lot of questions people want to ask, so I'm going to keep a lot of time for that. Just let me run through the remedies first. Now we know CPI, you might be surprised how CPI is one of the remedies for PTSD. But CPI is, will go into a state, a woman who has been taking care of the household, and somebody ill at home, she's tending to them, and she's looking after the house, even in this lockdown situation. And there is so much stress, so much work that she's faced, that then when something like this happens, when this kind of a state, when there's this kind of global pandemic and a lockdown, and she takes the brunt of the entire family, she goes into the state where she becomes indifferent to everybody, even her family members. She's averse to any kind of occupation. She becomes irritable. She's very sad. She doesn't want to talk to anybody, and she weeps all the time, especially real symptoms, imagined symptoms, exaggerated symptoms, but she's all the time melancholic, sad, and very miserable about herself and about the situation. And the most antagonism, the worst state that she experiences is indifference to people who are closest to her. So while she might be civil to people around her, like if she's talking to a friend or maybe somebody or an acquaintance over the phone, she might be even civil, but she's most irritable with her husband, children, or maybe if there are elderly people in the house, like parents-in-law. So she's most irritable to them, and she goes into a state where she doesn't want to do anything. She's totally apathetic. She doesn't want to watch the TV, doesn't want to rest. She's completely apathetic, indifferent to everything. Next one. Yes, now Pulsatilla. Pulsatilla is one of the remedies which is again very hypersensitive, over impressionable, weeping all the time. And Pulsatilla is a remedy which is full of herself, only thinks of herself in every situation. There's a pandemic, people are falling ill. What will happen if I fall ill? Will there be somebody to take care of me? Very sensitive. all the time thinking about illness. They want people to come and console them, be with them, want company all the time, fear of being alone. Now, the religious melancholy is one of the leading symptoms of pulsatilla. There are remedies which have religious mania. You think of anacardium, which is also one of the remedies which will come up. But pulsatilla has a religious melancholy of another kind. They will sit, do their puja, they will do their, they will read their holy books all the time, thinking that, oh, okay, God has probably punished me for this. And I must do something so that then God will be happy and he will bless everybody. So they are into this kind of thing. They're extremely naive, very frivolous kind of constitution, pulsatilla. The mental state is extremely frivolous and they're very emotional all the time. Next one. When they say mentally in April day, April weather is fluctuating, like sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's cold. So they're extremely, if you look at the pulsatilla constitution, they're also very ambithermal, so it's cold or hot. Anything moves them, anything, they're sensitive to everything. As I said, the next remedy is anacardium. Anacardium is one of the most important remedies where there is conflict of will, conflict of decisiveness. They cannot decide. They are very, there are two wills. They all the time think there is two persons in the same mind. So don't know what to do, whether what they're thinking is right, whether it is wrong. Think right, whether it is wrong. So they constantly vacillating between these two symptoms or these two states. And there is so much of melancholy, so much of hypochondriasis, that fear. So the way of anacardium will express this is through very violent, abusive expressions. They're very easily offended, and because they lack the courage, they lack the confidence, and to make up for that lack of confidence, they become suspicious and malicious. And they're very sleepless. One of the most important remedies for sleeplessness, for lack of confidence, for irresolution, for conflict of will, they are the ones who are going to feel like that. They feel that they are responsible for this state. They feel that, am I in some way, have I done something wrong? Have I done something with the conscience all the time? Anxiety conscience of all the time thinking that there is they have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in their mind all the time. So they think that probably I have done something wrong and the world is coming. I have sinned, so the world is coming to an end. So this is what is the anacardium state. Next one. Next remedy, please. Kylie. Next slide.
Ma'am, I've already shared the next slide. It's Ignatia.
Right. Yes, it's Ignatia, and Ignatia we know is one of the leading remedies for the mind, for the mental state. Effects of grief which are long lasting. So Ignatia will be typically like this because they're so hypersensitive and hyperesthesia. They are very sensitive to pain, very sensitive to mental impressions, is easily excited, and they also have this contradictory nature. So even if they have not experienced or they've not been directly in the situation, for example, they hear about people dying from maybe the COVID-19 flu, or they hear that the pandemic has inflicted this kind of destruction in world. So even if their area there is no such fear, but they hear about it from somewhere else. So they keep worrying about how that family is undergoing this. For example, I had a patient who said that I heard that Italy has just so much of prevalence of this pandemic in Italy. And I hear that people are dying, and then there are no hospitals, there are not enough of care for them. And I keep worrying, and I grieve for the people who have lost their families in that. And the grief is so pronounced, well defined that you would think that this person has lost someone very close to her. So Ignatia is for long-standing grief, for grief which they're not able to deal with, and worry all the time. So they're melancholic, they're not communicative, they think that it's happening to them. So for example, now I just give an example. For a patient who says that she loses her mother or she loses somebody close to her, and she's unable to sleep, she goes through grief, she's very melancholic, crying, weeping all the time, and you give her Ignatia, that is a very typical symptom of Ignatia. That's a very typical prescription. But a patient we have had this, a patient who says that I lost my mother-in-law 20 years ago, but I'm grieving for her even today. And when you ask her, were you very close to her? She said, no, I wasn't close to her, but experiencing acute grief even now. That is the typical Ignatia state. That is typical. Something which is uncharacteristic, out of place, exaggerated grief. That's it, Ignatia. So if you find patients coming with symptoms of PTSD, even after 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, as if it just happened yesterday, as if it's happened to them, even if they have not been directly affected by it, think of Ignatia as one of the chief remedies. It was one of the most hysterical remedies of Materia Medica. Next one. Let's have the next remedy. Yes, aurum metallicum. Long-standing grief, long-standing trauma. This is typically happens in. I hope people. Uh, have you muted me? Yeah. Have you muted me? Okay. Can you hear me now? I hope everybody can hear me now. Right. Yes. So here we are talking about aurum metallicum gold. Now, this is one of the deepest acting remedies of Materia Medica, and for long-standing effects of any kind of a trauma, a mental trauma, think of aurum metallicum. Prolonged anxiety. A person who is the head of the family, who goes through a situation like this. There is a financial loss, a financial crisis because of this pandemic. He lost his job probably, or he's facing a huge financial loss because his business is not doing well now, or he's not able to go out and do his business. And they carry this responsibility of being the head of the family, and they suffer from this. They get depressed, and they keep suffering. They will not express it, and then they go into a state of intense hopelessness. Intense hopelessness is, I would say, is the hallmark of the aurum metallicum remedy. And then they may go into a suicidal anguish. And with the situation around them, with the environment being the way it is, they know that the world is coming to an end. Nothing is going to happen. I will never get back my business. I will never be able to take the responsibility of my family. I want to give it up now. And so they keep brooding over it, and then they they probably go into the suicidal mode, because they all the time remember that aurum metallicum is one of the highest metals, and it has a very high benchmark for itself. So they are their own enemy, because they are never able to rise to the level that they have set up for themselves. So they keep blaming themselves. They feel they've neglected their duty. They feel they are not responsible for the family anymore, and they have committed a grave sin. So then they become extremely morose. They go into deep depression. Organic depression is something that an aurum metallicum remedy would probably help. Next one. I want to leave a lot of time for question answer, because I'm sure that people will have queries. Next remedy. Are we having more remedies? Yeah. Kunayam. Kunayam is one of the remedies, because it's again a very deep acting remedy, one of a very good polycrest of Materia Medica, very well proven remedy. It's one of the most depressed remedies, because they're averse to society. One of the remedies which wants solitude all the time. It is one of the remedies which wants solitude, yet they are afraid of being alone. So they want people to be with them. To some extent, lycopodium is also there, but lycopodium doesn't have so much of fear. It's just that they want people around them, because they like to be pampered, they like attention. But Kunayam has extreme fear of being alone. They cannot grasp, they have very difficulty in understanding. Periodical insanity, paralysis is also one of the hallmarks of Kunayam. Very sad. They are one of the remedies. Unlike pulsatilla, they hate sympathy. They're very sad when because they make the symptoms get worse if somebody comes and talks to them. So the ill effects of continuous blows. They keep hearing news about the pandemic, and every piece of news pushes them further into the grief state. So you have people with comorbidities. People with a person has suffered a stroke or suffered a heart attack many years ago and is on medication for that. So it's a very broken down Varicin constitution. So he would come in a very high risk group even in this current situation. And if he goes into the state of depression, think of Conium. It probably might bring him out of the state and prolong his life as well. Next is Natrum muriaticum, a very, very important remedy. And Natrum mur is the other part of Ignatia, long-standing grief, and it's a chronic of phosphorus. So those remedies those patients who are not benefited by phosphorus in the acute state and go into a chronic state, think of Natromure. Again, worse when consoled, extremely very strong egotism, sense of independence, wants to do everything herself, and they're very revengeful because they think that somebody else is responsible for this state. Keep plotting and brooding and thinking about it, but they rarely see. Remember that Natromure will plot, will think about revenge, but will not bring it into action. So antagonism self too is one of the leading symptoms of Natromure. They are again their worst own enemies. So they think that they are always guilty of something that they have not done. So they keep thinking. See, an idea clings, preventing sleep inspires revenge, but they won't actually take revenge. So they have alternating states because they feel guilty on one hand, on the other hand, they think that it is the others who are responsible for this state. So even in this current situation, the symptoms of irritability, anger, fear, even Natromure goes through. Next one. Next one. After Natromure, I think it has to be Arnica, is it? Sulfur. Yeah. Sulfur again is the king of polystress. It is going to be there. Whatever state you take, even in PTSD, sulfur has to come because religious melancholy is there. Again, they will be reading their scriptures all the time, thinking that whatever they do might actually help towards towards salvation, towards making things better. But they will only theorize. They will only sit and talk. When it comes to going and helping people on the road, that's where sulfur will take a backseat. They're all the time theorizing, thinking about things, talking about it, drawing room discussions. That is sulfur. They listen to the news, talk about it. They're all the time discussing it. But there is again that depressed feeling and low moods, peevishness. All this again is the general hallmark of sulfur. So, next one. Yeah, I think that's the last remedy here. Of course, we have, as I said, several other remedies, but these are the ones which came up during repetition. Arnica, any kind of trauma, whether it is physical or mental, it is arnica. And I think I have said that in my earlier lecture, is that when any kind of injury, you have a fall, you have a bruise, you have an ecchymosis, you give arnica, that is the isopathic prescription. But a person who says that I feel as if I've had a fall, I feel I have this body ache, I'm feeling so low and I feel so sore, as if I've climbed several mountains, as if I've done so much work that my body feels sore. I can't sleep because the bed, I keep tossing, turning, the bed is not comfortable. That is arnica for you. So arnica is an excellent, in this kind of excellent remedy for post-traumatic stress disorders. And it have to be a physical stress, even mental stress, arnica is one of the frontline remedies. So so they keep dreaming of death, they keep thinking of mutilated bodies, of disaster, they're anxious all the time, and they feel that they have undergone an injury themselves. So any kind of trauma which is even situational, which is in the environment, they feel they've undergone the trauma themselves, and they suffer from symptoms which are related to that trauma. So think of arnica in such a situation. So these are the common remedies which are coming up after the repertorial totality that we have taken. And as I said, that remember, homeopathy, the cornerstone of every homeopathic prescription is individualization. So every single remedy of Materia Medica can be applied to PTSD if it is indicated. This is the general guideline, a protocol, so that we can bring down the error aspect and probably help a lot of patients who each of you might be encountering in the months to come. So thank you, but we will now
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the explanation. And now we will start with our question answer sessions. Dr.
Yes.
Runali will take over.
Yes. Thank you, Saili. Very nicely.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this exclusive interactive Q&A session with Dr. Sujata Naik. And ma'am, we have been having a lot of queries coming in, so we'll start straight away.
Yes.
So Dr. Dipti was asking that along with homeopathic medicines for PTSD, will counseling also be required?
As I said that the other auxiliary methods like psychological counseling, meditative sessions, and group therapies definitely are adjuvant therapies, and homeopathy in no way is going to interfere with them. So they can go on concurrently. While a homeopath doesn't really counsel, although a lot of people have this misconception that a homeopath counsels during the session. He doesn't. All he does is takes in what the patient is given in terms of symptoms and signs, assimilates it without any kind of, and he analyzes and then prepares a remedy. That's how he's supposed to do. But during the case taking, when the patient is explaining his symptoms, he might think that he's actually unloading himself, and that might be a period of catharsis for the patient. And he might think that the doctor has counseled him, which is not really true. But independent counseling with a psychoanalyst or a psychological counselor is most welcome. There is no reason why it should interfere with that treatment. Next one.
Okay. Dr. Monisha was asking that how do we differentiate the irritability of nux vomica from that of CPR?
Yes, very good question. Nux vomica is, as I said, is one of the most irritable remedies of the materia medica. That is because they're very impressionable. They cannot tolerate disturbance of any kind. Nux vomica will not bear to be disturbed. So he has a very skewed schedule because he's running all the time, wants to meet them deadlines, is probably running for office. He's stressed all the time. And now when this pandemic has come and he's in lockdown, he's not able to deal with the situation. So he gets irritable with the situation, irritable with all the people around him. And because he's so impressionable, he gets anxious and fearful as well. This is the irritability of nux vomica. But if you look at CPR, CPR has taken a lot of stress over the years, keeps taking it. And now when there is a stage she cannot take it anymore, she's extremely irritable. The irritability borderlines on apathy. So they go into a state where they become indifferent. So they're irritable at one point, and the most irritable they will be with other family members or the people who are closest to them. Nux vomica is irritable with everybody, right from his secretary to his wife. He's irritable with everybody because that's the state of nux vomica. But CPR is basically a very conscientious, a very hardworking person, and because she feels that she is not rewarded enough, that she is being neglected because in spite of the sacrifices that she's made for her family, she goes into a state of irritability and then of indifference. Next question.
Okay. Dr. Siddharth was asking that Natramur is a remedy in chronic grief. So in this situation of PTSD after COVID-19, how is it going to help?
Yes. So after 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, a patient comes to you saying that I was one of my friends went through COVID, was tested positive for COVID-19, and that feeling that grief is not going, the person has probably come out of it. The person is now normal, but what I went through at that time, that grief is not leaving me. I'm all the time thinking about it. I'm brooding about it, and I feel was something to help my friend. Uh, had I recognized the symptoms in time, it could be you as a doctor, and you might feel guilty that, okay, the patient who consulted me at that time, had I referred the patient earlier to the hospital, would it have helped the patient better? So the person, the natural mover, is all the time in a state of guilt. His anxiety, about his conscience keeps bothering him, and conscientious remedy of the materia medica. So the grief overpowers this feeling all the time, and that's when a grief combined with guilt, a grief combined with anxiety of conscience, that is natural for you. So that is how it will help in PTSD as well. Next question.
Okay. Dr. Sharma was asking that how to differentiate between the common and characteristic presentations of PTSD now. Will we be dealing with PTSD more on the characteristic symptoms?
I assume that you're asking is that how to differentiate the common from characteristic and how to arrive at the remedy. Now, as I said that the psychological impact of the global pandemic of COVID-19 is going to be so huge that you can have, probably it's going to be at a mass level, that patients are going to be presenting with symptoms, psychological symptoms, and almost like a mental epidemic, I would call it that. The physical epidemic will be over, the mental epidemic will begin. So you're going to have all these symptoms which we just discussed earlier, the common symptoms, which, like, as I said, anxiety, fear, restlessness, nervousness, and melancholy, sadness, insomnia. These are the symptoms that probably everybody is going to approach a homeopath or a doctor are going to express. So you have to take these symptoms, although they are common, but they are strong because they are the presenting symptoms of the patient. So when you take these into your repertorial totality, you are going to be thrown up with 15 or 20 remedies. How do you choose? So if fear is the presenting symptom, fear is is the main thing. Think of aconite. If it is fear of death, especially at night when nobody is there with her, think of arsenic album. If it is a panic state, there are states when the patient goes into states where he gets scared. He just don't know. He doesn't know what to do. He thinks he's going to be suffocated to death. He has to have somebody close to him. Think of phosphorus. If grief is the presenting symptom, think of either natrium or ignatia. If the patient is melancholic, he is sad, he's apathetic, he's not able to concentrate, think of acid phosphoric. So this is how you're going to arrive at the remedy. You have to take the characteristic symptom, right, as the differentiating rubric, because there is something different about each patient who's going to present. Even with all the common signs and symptoms, there has to be something peculiar, something characteristic. It could be a gesture, it could be a dream, it could be the way he expresses himself. Anything which the discerning, observant homeopath must pick up. And if you apply it as a differentiating rubric, I'm sure that you will arrive at the remedy much better. And while there is no guarantee that this is a completely foolproof system, but I'm very confident that if you apply this, you will take the patient 2 or 3 steps towards amelioration, towards a cure. And that might open up more paths for further constitutional prescribing, if it will. It is possible that the first remedy itself may do the job for you.
Okay. Ma'am, few doctors are asking about the potency and the repetition. How do we go about that?
The potency, I would say that because you're using, as I said, that when the red line that you must, the higher you go up in terms of mental symptoms, the higher your potency can get. But the more common symptoms you feel with, take a moderate, mild to moderate. Would you like to mute certain microphones? Please check your audio settings, and because there's a lot of disturbance. So you would like to, when there are common symptoms, use a moderate potency. I generally recommend 30C, 12C, 30C, 200, never beyond that. And not very frequent repetitions. You could give a couple or 3 doses at the most, and you 3 doses to ensure that the remedy is going in. So generally that's how it is. And if you're getting very characteristic symptoms, very, you know that you're going to hit the bullseye, and probably just one single dose of higher potency, like 1,000, should do it. But that's hitting the bullseye.
Okay. Ma'am, Dr. Vaishali was asking that how do we differentiate between the religious melancholy of pulsatilla, anacardium, and sulfur?
Oh yes, that's a wonderful question. Very good question. Pulsatilla, anacardium, and sulfur. Okay. Now, as I said, pulsatilla is the type who's outgoing, social, is more into rituals. Okay. They like to do all their like sit and read the holy scriptures, talk about it, and they believe because they're so timid and they're so soft, so mild and amiable. So they're very impressionable. So they think that if they do a little bit, if somebody says that okay, you have to go to the temple every Friday, and if you do this, then you are going to be you'll find a solution for this pandemic. God will be happy with you. So they'll do this. Sulfur is about theorizing. They read the scriptures and they will talk to everybody and say that, oh, you must do this. If you do this, we are going to find a solution to COVID-19. So sulfur is the theorizing type. And anacardium is the type which is all the time that conflict of will. They think they have this religious mania. They think that they have sinned and there's something that they have done wrong, and that is why in some way they are feeling responsible. Mind you, it is not the guilt of natrium. It is a very deep conflict within themselves. So there's a demon and a god within the anacardium constitution, and there's a conflict between them all the time. So it's more about the mania, the religious mania that comes with a kind of spirituality which they experience. So they are also into this kind of feeling, but it's a very extreme maniacal kind of state that anacardium is in. So this is basically the difference between the three.
Okay. So we have just 5 minutes left, ma'am. I think we can just take one query more.
Okay.
Uh, one of the doctors was asking that how will anacardium help in PTSD when they always show conflict of will all the time?
Yes, so when they show conflict of will, that is when anacardium is indicated. They have lost their confidence. They're all the time saying, I don't know, this or that. What is it that is responsible? Have I done something wrong? Has somebody done something wrong? Why is this evil befallen on the world? So they've completely lost their confidence and they become malicious, suspicious of everything. And that is when anacardium is indicated. So when you give anacardium, you will see that if in such a situation, you will see the calming of the patient's constitution. There is less conflict, he's able to deal with it. And you will see that the edge of his maliciousness and suspiciousness will definitely go down.
Okay. So I guess
Right?
that's all the time that we have today. But we know that there are a lot of queries that we haven't answered. So I request all the doctors that you can always ask your queries to us on our email, or you can join our group on Facebook, and we'll ensure that your queries are answered.
Very
Thank you,
happy
ma'am,
to
for that
answer.
wonderful session.
Thank you very much, all the participants, and we would definitely appreciate your feedback, whether there is something else that you would like, whether you want a longer session, or if you want your queries to be answered, we'll be happy to answer. Thank you very much, and you've been a very, very participative and encouraging audience. Thank you very much.
I
And once
thank all
again,
the participants.
yes, yes. Greetings on World Homeopathy Day. Great going.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, bye everyone.